Welcome back to the Planterra Business Show. I'd like to thank Elizabeth Cole from ProHort Limited for joining us here today. We're going to be discussing waste acceptance criteria testing. What is it and what the importance of it is? So if we're going to start off with the most important question of all, Lizzie, what is waste acceptance criteria testing?
Yeah, so thank you very much for having me, first of all, on the show, Joanna. Really appreciate it. So I'm going to refer to waste acceptance criteria testing as WAC testing, so WAC is what that stands for. Yeah, it just makes it a bit quicker, otherwise we'll be saying it waste acceptance criteria over and over again. So WAC testing, it tests a variety of contaminants that are potentially located in soil. Dependent on the level of these contaminants, your soil can be classed as hazardous waste, in which case it needs to be taken to a specialist landfill site and disposed of in a different way. That's basically what WAC testing does. It tests the soil against these levels and then confirms which landfill site you need to arrange for your soil to be disposed of at.
Fantastic. And why is that important?
So as well as obviously making sure everyone's safe, that the soil's disposed of correctly, it is actually a criminal offence to dispose of what's classified as hazardous waste alongside non-hazardous waste. So this is why a lot of landfill sites will ask for a WAC report to be done and everything, a certificate or proof, just to make sure that they're compliant, that you're compliant. Yeah, it can be like anything, a criminal prosecution in serious cases, so fines, suspension of the service that you're offering, everything else like that, prison time for repeat offenders. So it can end up getting serious. So this is why we would recommend a WAC test.
Of course, that does sound extremely serious, especially for commercial industries as well.
Exactly.
Do you work alongside commercial industries to help them through the WAC testing process?
Yes, so we work alongside a lot of construction companies, kind of all various sizes up and down the country. Also property developers, as well as different people who are involved in all stages of that process. So we sometimes get contacted by architects, sometimes by the waste carriers themselves, as well, so that we can kind of be referred to their clients, as I've said, just to make sure that everything's compliant and above board as it needs to be.
Exactly. So is there just one broad spectrum test? Is there multiple different types of WAC testing? What would I need if I needed a WAC test?
Yeah, so first of all, we can offer a one-stage leachate test or a two-stage leachate test. So leachate or leaching is basically a way of measuring how much of each metal or other inert materials in the soil. So you run it once or you run it twice, dependent on the level of test. So previously, historically, the UK Environment Agency recommended a two-stage leachate test. As kind of leaching techniques, technology, everything else like that has developed, they now recommend a one-stage leachate test to meet the British standard for WAC testing. So that's kind of what we recommend basically is our kind of standard WAC package. If you do need a two-stage leachate test for any reason, or you'd like one, that is also something we can offer. We can also split off the WAC testing. So if you've previously had a heavy metal assessment done as part of your project, which you might have done as part of a grounds investigation report, or you're testing for that separately, we can just test for the inert materials, so the non-metals. Likewise, we can just test for the metals, just to check that it's basically just that the heavy metals meet the WAC standards. All of those can be offered under one stage or two stage, so lots of different choices, lots of variety. But so it definitely can be edited to suit exactly what you're looking for. We recommend the one stage leachate, the full suite. A lot of waste carriers ask for a recent soil analysis. That definition of recent can vary a little bit between providers. So that's why we recommend the full suite, even if you previously had heavy metals testing done. Okay. Just make sure everything's tested at the same time, using the same sample, so your results are kind of all together on the same date. Yeah.
Fantastic. Now, last week I had someone on the show that worked with Japanese knotweed, especially the treatment and removal of Japanese knotweed. In talking to her about where that soil goes, especially in excavations, That's something, would she need a WAC test? Do you work with companies that aren't just construction industries, that can be, you know, the removal of Japanese knotweed as well?
Yeah, so we have worked with a number of companies involved at different stages along that supply chain involving Japanese knotweed excavations. Japanese knotweed contaminated soil needs to be taken to a specialist landfill site anyway. And a lot of those specialist landfill sites, just so they're aware exactly what they're accepting, so they know that the soil's contaminated with Japanese knotweed, that's why it's being brought to them, but they want to check for kind of their own measures. Does it include anything else that they need to be aware of? So a lot of them will ask for a WAC test. We would always recommend, if you're dealing with Japanese knotweed, check with every person along that supply chain. So check with the people who are doing the excavation, check with the people who are doing the muck away, kind of taking the soil. Also ensure that they check with where the soil's being disposed of, because if anyone at any stage can require a WAC test, that can then really kind of start to slow your progress in the excavation. I would recommend probably getting a WAC test done anyway. If you are considering excavating the Japanese knotweed, kind of get that done first. That way you've got a sense of what's in the soil, everyone kind of knows exactly what's being dealt with, and then it can be disposed of correctly.
It definitely sounds crucial for those industries, and Japanese knotweed being so dangerous and easily spread, you know, something where you'd want to be checking that soil. So we've got construction companies, we've got Japanese knotweed, and those types of removal companies as well. Can soil testing be done for, I guess, residential, for an everyday person, or is it more a commercial test?
Yeah, I mean, it tends to be that we work mainly with commercial companies. However, if you were kind of doing a large scale project in your garden, if that was something that you were self-managing, whether that was landscaping or kind of a construction project in your garden, particularly if you were using kind of a variety of companies having different things constructed at different stages, I would probably recommend getting a WAC test, because at some stage, all that soil that's being dug out will need to be disposed of. And, you know, as kind of the landowner, the person overseeing these works, that does end up being your responsibility. I would kind of recommend it's done, any soil analysis is done as early as possible. When we have done a WAC test for residential customers, they're often quite surprised just how informative it is. I think given it informs you of the levels of heavy metals, if you do kind of take it away, you can apply it to think, actually, what are the best plants to grow in my garden? Are there any fertilizers that, you know, I need to apply? I think because the WAC test is so extensive, give it, you know, it provides you with the pH, the levels of iron, the levels of sulfur, you know, everything along those lines. It can, a WAC test can be used for another purpose later on as well.
Yeah, so definitely skip your local hardware store soil test and get everything all done in one.
Exactly.
But I think, you know, looking at talking to you and you being the specialist, what's something that still surprises you about WAC testing, or when people call you asking for a WAC test?
Yeah, I think probably how quick the turnaround can be on the WAC test. I think people imagine it's going to kind of be weeks and weeks and, you know, it's going to drag on. Our standard turnaround for WAC tests are 2 weeks, but we can do them in as little as 1 week. We can kind of offer an expedited process, so that is a lot quicker. Obviously, that's something that we do need to kind of discuss with people ahead of time if they do want to be quicker than that 2 week turnaround. But I think with kind of proper prior planning and everything else along those lines, if you are getting a WAC test done at the earliest possible stage, it's not going to be something that kind of holds up your development. It is something that will come back quite quickly, and then you can get everything lined up that you need to.
So you don't need to wait for anything, which I'm sure, especially in development, would be
exactly
helpful part
I think a lot of our clients have been surprised, just how quickly it does kind of come back. It does end up coming back around.
Lovely. Well, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to talk to me about WAC testing. And I know this is going to be an interesting topic for many people. You know, we mentioned those commercial industries, you know, developers, Japanese knotweed as well, which coincides with last week's guest, which is fantastic, but also anyone looking to really step up their veggie patch as well. So it is something that, you know, do you only do WAC testing at ProHort? What else can you help us with, Lizzie?
Yeah, so as well as WAC testing, we do offer a full range of soil analysis. So I know you mentioned a vegetable patch. We do offer bespoke packages, including one specific for growing vegetables.
Fantastic. The sun is almost coming out. It's definitely getting warmer, which is nice for everyone here in the UK. But
yes, so any kind of soil analysis, if you do want to discuss a package around soil analysis for growth or anything similar, I'm certainly more than happy to help. We also offer tree surveys as well as providing any of the technical documentation. So Part 35 reports, including Part 35 reports for Japanese knotweed, as well as landscape designs, kind of visual impact assessments, anything along those lines. But I think if it's anything horticultural or arboricultural, then come to us. We offer bespoke packages as well.
One-stop shop. And if someone does want to get a hold of you, where can they reach you, Lizzie?
Yeah, so they can give me a call on 01782 479 479. There's also our website, which it would be great if in wherever this video is posted, you could include a link to that, and then
we'll link it down below.
Yeah, there's a contact form on there. The inquiries come straight to me, and I'm more than happy to help.
Well, thank you very much for joining us, and thank you to everyone that's watching. Hopefully you've gained a further insight into not only WAC testing, but soil testing as well. And if you haven't already, make sure you like this page, make sure you head over to ProHort's page and see Lizzie and give her a chat if you ever need anything at all. We'll be back next week to cover more topics over the coming weeks, and definitely something that everyone will find interesting. So thank you very much, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Thank you very much.